What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Come On Now, the podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Showmont. We talk facts over feelings. Leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're talking college football, preview of tomorrow's matchups, Saturday, week 2. You had a lot of big matchups on in week 1, but typically what happens when you have those big matchups is on week 2, you don't have the same level of matchup, right? I think that's a given. I think people already know that. So we're going to take a look at the games tomorrow, and I think the one of the bigger games, even though it's not a big game, but it's a bigger game because I want to see what this kid can do because we saw nothing out of him last week. He was absolutely awful, and I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm being dead ass serious. I watched that game. Arch Manning sucked. He was certifiably garbage, absolutely horrendous. Looked like shit. Nothing special. He played it, for someone to be proclaimed the Heisman candidate, Heisman leader, this big time prospect. Bro, you sat behind a 7th round pick for 2 years. And your first real opportunity against a real team, and you score 7 points. The game itself, I watched the Ohio State Texas game last week, was not at all impressed with either team, to be quite frank. I don't think either one was very impressive. Ohio State had 200 yards of offense. I mean, they stunk. But I thought, you know, Julian Sayin played better than Arch Manning. I mean, he didn't do much, but Arch Manning was pedestrian as shit. Most of his numbers were fluffy at the end of the game once they were down 14 nothing. So there wasn't much there. I want to see what Arch Manning does on the field. Playing a nobody, you're playing San Jose State doesn't mean fuck all. They're playing at 12 in Austin, and can Arch Manning show up? If you've seen film of Arch Manning, there is plenty of film out there when you see the competition that he played against in high school. Wasn't very good. And if his name wasn't Manning, nobody would give a shit. Nobody would care. So show us something, Arch Manning. And I don't mean 15 to 22. I'm talking about, I want to see Steve Sarkisian open up the damn offense and let that kid chuck it down the field. I want to see him make plays with his arm, with his legs, doing everything. I want to see a performance. I want to see a 37-point favorite throw 3, 4 touchdowns. I want to see a performance out of Arch Manning. Show me something, Arch Manning, because what we saw against Ohio State, bruh, garbage. Garbage, garbage, garbage. And if we see something else that looks remotely close to that, 17 to 30 for 200 yards or something like that, people are really going to start having a lot of questions. So, other games on tap, you got Penn State hosting Florida International. You got Iowa State against Iowa. Iowa State's ranked 16th. You got Baylor at SMU 17th ranked. Kennesaw State's at 23rd ranked. Indiana, Kent State's at 24th ranked. Texas Tech, you got Utah State at 19th ranked. Texas A&M. Next week after, Texas A&M will be playing against Notre Dame, so that's obviously important for A&M to win. Ohio State's hosting Grambling. They play at 3:30. Georgia's hosting Austin P. They play at 3:30. Oregon's hosting Oklahoma State at 3:30. Clemson looks to get a W after losing to LSU. They play at home versus Troy. Tennessee versus East Tennessee State. Ole Miss travels to Kentucky. And then you got obviously Miami's playing against Bethune-Cookman at 7. Utah hosts Cal Poly at 6. Florida against South Florida. That's an interesting game. South Florida blew Boise State out the building. We don't know what Florida really is. Florida's ranked 13th. They play at 415. Don't really know what Florida truly is. They played LIU. Let's stop. South Florida beat the doors off of Boise State. I know Ashton Genty's gone, but they beat the doors off that team. It wasn't a game. I mean, I think this is a very interesting game for the Florida Gators. They're 18 and a half point favorite. It's a pretty big number. Pretty big number considering, you know, they still have Byron Brown playing quarterback. It's a big number, man. It's a big number. If South Florida shows something, I mean, look, Miami plays South Florida next week, so it's interesting. I'm interested to see what South Florida looks like as well, because Miami plays both these two teams in the next 2 weeks. South Florida and then Florida. So that should be an interesting one. You got South Carolina State traveling to South Carolina. LSU's hosting Louisiana Tech. Arizona State going to Mississippi State. There's one top 20 matchup that I see, and that's Michigan 15th against Oklahoma, number 18. That's in Norman. That's a 7:30 game. OU's a 4.5-point favorite in that game. That should be that's the premier game probably of the entire day. And then Alabama hosts Louisiana Monroe at 7:45. Alabama's dropped all the way down to number 21. Can DeBoer get these guys to win a game? I'm telling you right now, Alabama's not very good. Alabama's not very good. I watched that FSU Bama game. I thought FSU played well, but I don't think Bama's that good. I didn't think they were that good last year. Genuinely, I didn't think Alabama was that good last year, and they were getting overhyped because they're in the SEC, because they're Alabama. FSU performed well, but Bama stunk. So I think it's in, I know FSU plays tomorrow at 12 against East Texas A&M. I mean, Lord have mercy. They lost 42-13 to SMU at SMU. I mean, that's not terrible. That's not terrible. This team starts off their season with at SMU and at Florida State before they get into their I guess this is their they play Grambling, then they got NC Central, Northwest. This is a Division I AA school. So anything short of a 45 to 52-7 type of game for Florida State to me would be not impressive. FSU has to skull drug these guys. And FSU over the last couple of years, or last year specifically, and then not the year before that, but the year before that, FSU has had some trouble with these lesser than opponents, because last year, I mean, this team lost to Memphis. They beat Charleston Southern. That was one of their 2 wins. And then if you go back, not to 23, because 23 they were undefeated until the to the playoffs, until they got to the playoffs. But the year before that, they what was it? 2021, they lost to Jacksonville State on their home field. They lost to Wake Forest. But Jacksonville State, I remember that game that was probably the most embarrassing loss that Florida State has had in 40 years, 45 years. I mean, just a brutal loss. Well, we got to see this team show up again and do what it did against Alabama. I mean, the schedule for Florida State this year is tremendously favorable. After you open with Bama, then you play East Texas State, Texas A&M, and Kent State back to back before traveling to Virginia, and then you host Miami. So I am curious to see how they look against a shit team like East Texas A&M, because if it's 31-17, now you're wondering what would that Bama, maybe Bama really is not that good. So I'll be watching that game because I have an interest, because I'm a Hurricane fan. So that is a game of interest to me, because I'm still shocked that FSU beat Bama. But that's what the transfer portal can do for you. It's like, what can the transfer portal do for you? It can change your outlook really fast. So I'm interested in that game as well. All in all, it's not a big weekend for college football tomorrow, but there are some games to look out for. And the 2 games specifically that I'm interested in the most, one is South Florida, Florida. Obviously, like I mentioned, I'm interested in Florida State, East Texas A&M. But then I think that Michigan-Oklahoma game, Michigan-Oklahoma, and then I want to see if Arch Manning looks like the player that we just saw last week, or if he looks much better. We'll see, because it's a much weaker opponent. He should look much better. But if he doesn't, a lot of questions will start being asked. A lot of questions will start being asked. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. What games are you interested in? Love to hear what you have to say. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell. This is Come On Now, the podcast. We talk facts over feelings. Appreciate y'all. Come on now.